The contents of this podcast are for informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. If you have a specific health concern or condition, please consult a qualified healthcare professional for more details. Check out herguru.uk/disclaimers. Hi, it's Cheryl here and welcome to Work Stress Anxiety. You know, one of the most helpful things Elka says in this conversation is that anxiety can be like something almost like tapping on your shoulder, asking you to pay attention to it. And I love that because so often we treat anxiety as if it means we're broken or we're weak or we're strange or somehow we're not coping properly. But what if anxiety is sometimes just information? Let's get started. Hi, it's Cheryl here and welcome to Work, Stress and Anxiety. Really glad you could join us today. And guess what? I have a brilliant guest with me. Welcome, Elka.
Hi, Cheryl. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Really glad that you're with us today. Today, we're talking about why anxiety can feel like it's come out of nowhere. So, Elka, I myself experienced anxiety quite badly when I was in my late teens. And I didn't know it was called anxiety at the time. I just thought I was a little bit odd, if I'm honest. And I remember thinking, because I've always been quite an outgoing kind of person, and people always assumed that I was outgoing. And I because people told me I was outgoing, I assumed that's what I was. But I remember my mum saying to me one day, she said, "You used to be such a happy-go-lucky kind of girl. What's happened to you?" And it was really weird because when she said that to me, I was really confused. I felt kind of hurt, and I didn't actually ask her what she meant. I just went away and thought, there's something wrong with me. So what I wanted to ask you was, can you help explain the difference between fear, anxiety, and stress, especially in terms of, for my listeners who are experiencing, they're high functioning women, so they tick all the boxes of being able to do everything that people expect them to do, but they may be experiencing work stress or work anxiety, and they're not sure what it is they're experiencing.
Yes, well, one of the things that you mentioned, and I'd like to echo, is I felt growing up that I was hiding a big secret because I didn't feel well. And I think anxiety, and well, let's just define some of the terms just to create some understanding, because sometimes it gets mixed up. And it's interesting too, is I want to make this really easy and understandable. So we don't need to diagnose. We just need to know we're not feeling well. And anxiety can be quite tiring as well. It's emotionally draining. So how anxiety is different than fear? Fear is something that's happening to you and you've got to act. So I use an example. I live in the country and I'm not sure, do you have skunks?
Yeah, we don't have skunks, but we have something very, very similar, yes.
Really? Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, skunks can really make you smell bad, and they're usually not around in the daytime. And I was walking on our country road, and a skunk started to chase me. And I assumed it was a female. She was thumping, which means she's about to spray, and you want to get out of there. And I must have came upon her den is the only thing, and that's why I think she was a female, that she was protecting her young. So that's real fear. You've got to do something and act. And so where it changes, though, is ever since then, and that's been years. However, probably the first few weeks after that, while I was on that road, I had anticipatory anxiety, and anxiety is anticipating that that skunk might come out. So it hasn't happened, and it hasn't. It wasn't there. So anxiety is anticipatory, and this is where we can actually befriend anxiety. That is actually an opportunity because it's tapping us on the shoulder and saying, hey, you got to pay attention to something. So if you find that you're anxious about, and we'll talk a little bit more about when I talk about these terms, is maybe it's about money, like you wake up and you're worried. Well, that's a signal to look at your finances and sort something out. Maybe there's a bill you missed or something you need to take care of. So anxiety is kind of, again, tapping us on the shoulder. Or maybe you have some aches and pains. It's saying, hey, maybe you should go have that checked out. So worry, worry, they all kind of come along and hitch a ride. Worry actually comes from the English word raigon, which means to strangle. And so worry is, some people call it negative meditation. It's not useful because worry tends to be repetitive. And again, if we can just take that first concern and then listen to it, then it becomes something useful. If we let it kind of run around our heads, it actually is draining. So thinking about, it's kind of like being aware of your thoughts and aware of your body. So then we get on to the definition of what does anxiety mean. So it's this nervousness. We talk about unease, like not just feeling quite right. Sometimes there's an ailment that comes with it, which I'll give a list. And it could be some apprehension, maybe just feeling like this tension and angst and this unsettledness, twitchiness that we call anxiety. And here's the fun part. So people, when I've done talks, people have said, what's the difference between stress and anxiety? And you know what? We don't have to worry. I'm using that word. We don't have to concern ourselves with trying to figure out if it's one or the other. Because anxiety can come as that butterfly in the stomach, right? And that could even be excitement. It could be wanting to eat, stress eat, or not feeling hungry at all. So it's like, it could be feeling super tired or not being able to sleep. And you're just going, oh my gosh. It could be weight loss. It could be weight gain. It could be obsessive compulsive habits. So when we're feeling this unease, and I know we're going to talk about it more in the second episode, we want to look at, all right, where is this coming from? What am I experiencing? And this is why it can be such a mystery, because it can be different. It can be different for you as it is for me. Some anxiety isn't so bad, and it also affects us, right? So if it's affecting us in a negative way, we really want to deal with it.
Cool. Now, why do you think, as we sit here talking, I'm just curious to know why do you think anxiety can be so random? You know, you talk about the experience that you had, that anticipatory.
Yeah.
Is that the right way to say it? Yeah. Anticipating something's going to happen. So you get those emotions, coming through. But I can be doing something that I've done maybe 100 times before and been quite happy and safe. And then all of a sudden I'll go to do something and I get those feelings, that tightness in the chest, or the feeling, I know that's what a lot of people get, but when I'm feeling anxious, the first thing I notice is that all of a sudden it's like I can't breathe deeply. If I try to breathe, it's almost like half my lung capacity has
Yeah.
just suddenly gone, and then it's almost then I know I'm feeling anxious.
Yeah.
So just thinking about that, why does it feel so random? What do you think that is underneath that?
Yeah, and I hear you. That's how I used to feel, that it was random and that it's this mystery. And one of the things that I do in my books of the Anxiety Warrior series, I have a checklist where you can just go through these causes, and it isn't complicated. There's 11 places where it comes from, and so here's the interesting thing is you want to understand your body. It's like you had, you said, I had this experience, I've done this so many times, where did it come from? Well, that's why I really made it a mission to find out, because sometimes anxiety would come and go within seconds or minutes, and sometimes it was there all morning, where I felt like, for me, it was I wanted to vomit. I felt sick to my stomach. I did sometimes get chest pains, not often. And so, yeah, you want to find out where it's going from. So what you want to do is support yourself. And, it could be that you needed some water, or maybe your nervous system, like we're so connected. And it's interesting. It could have been something that you were feeling from somebody else, even, not even you. And that is possible, that we can pick up that anxiety from other people, and whether it's in an office or in traffic or a city. And so what we want to do, and there are strategies for all of these things that are simple, and you don't have to buy fancy equipment. They're things you can learn, and the good news is you can protect yourself so that you're not picking up on some of these things. And the other thing is, you can have water is a great way to help calm your body, because when we're dehydrated, the brain is sending signals of anxiety. So we're going to talk about these layers, and that it could have been more than one thing, is my suspicion, that it just came on. And that's what makes it mysterious. You're just going, what? What just happened here? Yeah, for sure.
But even just what you just said, I never would have thought about, even though obviously, I understand a lot of how the brain works, but I never would have thought about dehydration. It never even crossed my mind that, in that moment I could have been slightly dehydrated. And considering most of us are dehydrated anyway because we don't drink enough water.
Right. And
I mean,
yeah. And
I mean
especially,
that's just
all I was going to say, especially with this heat, right?
yes.
And here's another
Yeah.
thing, Cheryl, is a lot of us, our bodies sweat through the night. So you've got to figure, I don't know how people are sleeping. I'm a really good sleeper, so 6 to 8 hours you're without anything, you're sweating. So then it's likely that you are dehydrated when you wake up. So when a client comes and they say, I ask them, one of the things I ask right away is, how do you wake up? Oh, I wake up, I'm anxious right away. Then I just say, okay, one of the things you want to know is be aware of your thoughts. The other is have a little bit of water. You don't have to have tons. Just to give yourself that water, your brain settles down. And a lot of my clients go, oh my gosh, like I give them a scale, and we'll talk about that. They'll say, oh, I wasn't as anxious just with that water. So, so the scale.
That is a brilliant tip. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
sorry to go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, even just having that glass of water by your bedside, or even if it's not by your bedside, in your bedroom,
Yeah.
so that when you wake up, the first thing you actively do is drink some water. I mean, most people, what do? They wake up in the morning and the kettle goes on, and they take that
Or they, Go on.
stimulant, or they go to their phone. Yeah, they don't even think about what their body might need. So no, that's really interesting, and it's something that I am definitely going to adopt because I've never thought of it that way, which is really interesting. That and I know it's I know it's not just about anxiety. It's about giving your body what it needs, and sometimes we as human beings we've got into this habit of almost ignoring the bodily signals that we're constantly, our brains are giving us all the time because we're more interested in what's going on our phones or, just getting up and moaning about the fact that we have to do stuff. So,
Yeah, and
brilliant tip. I'm definitely going to adopt that. Thank you.
I have my bedside is an anxiety. I call it my anxiety warrior station. So I have water there all the time, and I make sure because here's the interesting thing: is if we feel thirsty, we're already a bit late on drinking the water. Not, I don't want to alarm people. It's not bad. It's just to be mindful that we do need that hydration. And you're right, even if we're not going to the phone right away, we're going to a stimulant like tea or coffee, which actually depletes our water or our body of water. And so we want to be mindful that if we are doing caffeine, that we've already given the body some water to hydrate. And to be mindful of the caffeine, of sugar, chocolate, even high, what do I want to say, these like the white carbs that go right into sugar. And so I want to talk quickly. Do we have time to talk about the scale? Because I think it's really useful.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
So 0, and this is just a scale. Any person that can count from 0 to 10, you can teach them the scale. So I'm talking young people too, right? Children. So 0 means no disturbance. So that just means I'm okay, I'm calm. And then 10, the way I have felt it is it's like short circuiting. When I have anxiety, I can't even put a thought together. I'm dysregulated. That's a 10. And so 0 to 10. And just so you know, right, and everybody's number is a little different. So that's it's not a test. I would say it's not a test. You just need to be aware of your own numbers. And so even right now, I'm not a 0. However, I'm not upset. I'm active, awake, and involved in this interview. So I'm about maybe a 1, a 1.5, which is great. It just means, I'm not chilling. You know what I mean? I'm not like, laying on a beach or anything. So what's really important, and when we talk about where does anxiety come from, and it comes back to your question of, I've done these things 100 times. Where did the anxiety come from? Well, maybe being slightly dehydrated, you might have been a 1 or a 2, that brought you up to a 3. Maybe something was going on around you, other people brought you up to a 4 or 5. And then it could have even been something else, maybe something in the back of your mind, something that was kind of floating around, but not in our forefront, brings you up to that 7 or 8. And so then we're having an anxiety, I want to say an episode or a situation. So, and then we just need to be aware, one, where we're at. So it's this awareness, because when you're aware, then you can make changes. If you're not aware, how can you change it? The other piece is know what your limits are. So when somebody's working on my house, I don't know why I'm on guard, and I've been like that. So I have learned I can only have one thing happening, and I also try not to have my interviews around that. So right now I call it peace on earth. Nothing's happening. I can be totally present with you, and I'm like that with my clients too. Is then I can be totally present. I know, right? So it's like, really understand, and I know in episode 2 we're going to talk about some of these places we can tolerate a lot. And if we know what our limits are, like we might just go into the day and say, I'm waiting for test results from my doctor, so I'm going to be at a 5 till I find out. Okay, well then I'm not going to have a contractor come and work on my property because that's going to put me too high, right? So really just kind of know some of your limits. And when we can kind of protect our bodies, then we'll talk about some other strategies too that we can calm our system.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting what you say about knowing what your limits are. I think, especially for a lot of us women, high functioning women, we, especially in the workplace, sometimes we're not very good at setting boundaries. And, if you, like you say, you could be, just even thinking about that scale as we're talking, I'm thinking, where am I on that scale right now? I'm probably at a 1 because I'm functioning and I'm talking to you, but I also know that most of the time I'm probably walking around at a 1, but maybe 2 or 3 things that are happening all at the same time, I'm already at a 6. And then, people say to me, well, Cheryl, I tried to call you, or you didn't reply immediately to that email. What's going on? And I'm like, I'm at my limit, and I need to be honest about that with myself, understanding myself enough to know where I am on that scale at any one time, and being willing to share that in a constructive way, to say this is not a good time for me right now. Actually, I actually remember saying that to someone. This is not a good time for me right now.
Right.
And them actually look at me as if, what does that mean? But I think even though they didn't understand, they did understand that this was just not the right time to ask me something. And I appreciate that's really important. So I just want to thank you, Erica, for sharing that with us today. Thank you so much for being with me. And I hope the listeners are going to start using that scale, even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah, and know it's your own scale. So like, you and I, if we talked about a situation, it might not bother you, but it might bother somebody else or me. You put 10 people in a room and they'll all be different in how they react. That's okay. You just have to know what it's for you. And the other thing is you've got to know where your slippery slope is. Like some people can tolerate a lot of stress and they're fine with it. They thrive. Not me. So my slippery slope is a 4 or 5. I start pulling out my self-care, which we're going to talk about. So that's really important too. And
So I just want to thank you very much for joining me. Thank you.
Well, you're most
Elka.
welcome.
One small step you can take today is to try Elka's 0 to 10 scale. Remember to pause and ask yourself, where am I right now? 0 means calm, 10 means completely overwhelmed or short-circuiting, and there is no gold star pretending you are at 2 when you're clearly a 7. Once you know your number, ask what might have raised it. Remember, small, repeatable noticing matters.